Hey people of YouTube, this is Power from Power Gaming bringing you a tips and talent guide for the Retribution Paladin class. If you guys like these guides I do on talents and PvP specs and things like that, and subscribe, comment, rate, things like that, and I'll do ones for Holy and I'll do ones for Protection. So to get started, I'm just going to do a talent one for this video. So we'll go over the talents. In the first tier, we've got Eye for an Eye. All magic attacks against you have a 40% chance to cause 30% of the damage taken back to the attacker as well. I wouldn't suggest this for PvE. This isn't very good. This is not good at all for PvE, because you hopefully shouldn't be taking that much magic damage. I mean, I could see it working on certain boss fights, but really not enough to change your spec for unless you're super hardcore PvP. The next one, Crusade, increases the damage of your Crusader Strike, Hammer of Righteous, and Templar's Brick by 30%. Let alone the second part, which is, and the damage of, in addition, the damage and healing of Holy Shock. In addition, after you kill a target that yields honor or experience, you get a big heal off your Holy Light that is precisely 300%. Not even bringing the thing you get after you kill things, that 30% damage is just amazing and automatically makes it worth taking. Next, and that's good for PvE and PvP. Next is Improved Judgment, increases the range of your judgment by 20 yards. I wouldn't take this for PvP or PvE, but for PvP this is very good because of what that gives you, which we'll go over in the third tier. Next tier, tier 2. You have a 100% chance to gain a charge of Holy Power when stunned, fear, or mobilized. In addition, you increases the speed when you're mounted and unmounted by 15%. That 15% is very big, in my opinion. Crusader R gives you 20%, and it does not stack with other movement enhancing effects. So, when you have Crusader R up, it's useless. But you also get the Holy Power, which is very good. Next is Rule of the Law, increases the crit chance of Crusader Strike, Hammer of Righteous, and Word of Glory, which this is an awesome, because you can get up to 55k Word of Glory crits. Of course, that is with your bubble up, which increases 20%. Next is Guardian's Favor, reduces the cooldown of Hand of Protection by 60 seconds, and increases the duration of your Hand of Freedom by 2 seconds. I'm not quite sure what the next tier is. I'm assuming it's a minute 20 and 4 seconds, but I don't take this for PvP. I could see people using this for PvP, but that's not for me. PvE? No, that's not worth it in PvE. Third tier, Communion. Your Rs increase your party's damage dealt by 3%, and your own damage increased by an additional 2% at all times. So that's a 2% damage buff with 1 point. Automatically worth it, let alone the replenishment it gives you. Grants up to 10 party or raid members a regeneration equal to 1% of their maximum mana per 10 seconds. Lasts for 15 seconds. That's not really that big, but it's worth it for the 1 point you put into it. This amazing skill, and that's good for PvP and PvE. This amazing skill, Art of War, your auto attacks have a 20% chance to make your next exorcism instant, free, and do 100% additional damage. So that's a major DPS increase. I would take that in PvE and PvE situations. Now, the reason I go into this, for the most part, I mean, that 20 yards is nice, but the reason I go into it is your judgment has a 100% chance to increase your movement speed by 45% for 4 seconds when used on targets that are farther away than 15 yards. So that's our gap closer right there. I have a macro which will go Judgment Cleanse, and automatic, well, we'll go over what Cleanse does in a little bit. Divine Storm, this is good on some fights for PvE. It basically just hits a lot of enemies near you with big hammers, but I take this for PvP because when I have snakes on me, things like that, it's real helpful. You don't have to have this. In fact, for most part, I wouldn't suggest this, but I use this as my one spec, so I had to have a little bit of utility in there. And in PvE, certain fights where you're getting rid of ads, like New Boss and Bird and Hold, you have to down ads. That's extremely important. So is your Holy Wrath and Consecration. Consecration takes over half of my mana, and it does as it does for Holy, although Holy has a bigger mana pool, but you get Hollow Ground, which just decreases the mana cost by 80%. Next, Tier 4 is Sacred Shield. When you are reduced below 30% health, you gain a shield. The shield absorbs 26,874 damage and increases healing received by 20%. Now, the healing received isn't... Healing received isn't just by your healer, it's also on yourself, which increases your self-healing. So if you have 3 charges of Holy Power, use Word of Glory. I've seen up to 55k crits. Sanctity of Battle. Haste affects lower the cooldown of Crusader Strike and Divine Storm. That's debatable whether it's worth it. I probably shouldn't be spec'd into that because of the main fact that it takes a lot of haste, which Paladins should not be stacking, to actually be able to make that worth it. So I would have to check this out a lot, but at this point I would say you can either give or take it. If you need it to get to the next tier, I would take it, but you shouldn't need it. And the next is Seals of Command. Basically, your seals do 7% more damage, and now they hit all the enemies or a few enemies near you. Or all enemies, excuse me. So it's basically a 7% damage increase, and it gives you some AoE. I would take this for PvP and PvE. Sanctified Wrath, a extremely good skill. Increases the critical strike chance of your Hammer of Wrath, reducing the cooldown of Avenging Wrath by 60 seconds, and allows the use of Hammer of Wrath at all times during Avenging Wrath. That is the bread and butter of the Paladin's wings. Wings would be moderately useless if you don't have this up. The 20% damage is alright, but that Hammer of Wrath I've gotten good 40k crits on, so you're obviously going to take that. The 5th tier, Divine Purpose, is an amazing ability that Paladins have. The following attacks have a 15% chance to cause your next Holy Power ability to consume no Holy Power, and to cast as if 3 Holy Power were there. Your Judgment, Exorcism, Templar's Verdict, Divine Storm, Inquisition, Holy Wrath, and Hammer of Wrath can all do that, which that's very, very effective ability. Then I take Repentance. You should not take this for PvE because mages have Polymorph, rogues have Sap. Pretty useless, but for PvP it gives you an extra CC ability, which is absolutely worth it. Selfless Healer reduces the cooldown of Word of Glory by 10 seconds. In addition, when you heal others with your Word of Glory, it increases the effectiveness of the heal by 50%, and increases damage done by 4% for every charge for 10 seconds. So it's not only a damage increase, but you can also heal other people. It's really a matter of choice to take this in PvE, but it's a no-brainer in PvP. Inquiry of Faith increases the periodic damage of your Seal of Truth, our most damaging seal, by 30%, and the duration of Inquisition, a 30% damage increase by 200%. Very, very good ability. Next is Acts of Sacrifice, where that's why I have Judgment macroed into a Cleanse. Reduces the cooldown of and mana cost of your Hand of Salvation, Hand of Freedom, and Hand of Sacrifice. In addition, Cleanse will remove 1 movement impairing effect to cast on yourself. So, say I'm slowed by a Hunter, or Frost Nova, or any of those things, I can either cast a Cleanse, but I macro this in so that I get my speed increase, and I get my Cleanse. And then finally, the last tier in the Paladin tree, Zealotry, which you obviously are going to take. Your Crusader Strike generates 3 charges of Holy Power per strike for 20 seconds, requires 3 Holy Power to use, but does not consume Holy Power. So you get 3 Holy Power. What I like to do, personally, is I hit 3 Holy Power, I use Zealotry, Inquisition, then I can get and I'll pop my cooldowns, I'll get Crusader Strike up, and I'll hit extremely high Templar's Verdict. It makes it worth it in every way. So we're done with this Retribution tree, which is a very good tree. Decent PvE damage. I've seen Paladins drop the charts, although personally I don't think it's the best for PvE. PvP, it's very viable, although all classes are, in my opinion, are glad viable at this point, which is good. You know, they've got it balanced enough. I have problems with, in my opinion, you basically don't kill a Frost Mage. are one stun they can blink out of. It's pretty sad. But, I mean, what do you do? Alright, so we're done with this Retribution tree. Let's go on to the next two. I put 4 points into protection, 1 point into holding. Now these can be spec'd different ways, whichever way you would like it. I go Eternal Glory, which Word of Glory has a 30% chance not to consume Holy Power, which basically gives me a free heal and allows me to still use Templar's Verdict, which when you do use Templar's Verdict without Divine Purpose or any of the other things procced, then it's pretty useless. Seals of the Pure basically increases your seals damage by another 12%, which makes them extremely good. And I put 1 point into increases the critical effect chance of your Judgment and Templar's Verdict by 6%. You could go higher into this. All three of these things are quite viable, actually, and so is that. Increases healing effects done on you by 2%. 3 points into it makes it 6%. This increases your melee haste. I mean, I could go into that, actually, because I do spec into that. I'm probably going to take that out at some point, and maybe put the extra point in here. And then casting a targeted heal on any target except yourself also heals you. It's more of a holy thing. It's alright. I wouldn't take it for arenas. Definitely not for PvE. That's good for PvE. It's a matter of choice, you know. These are just matters of choice. So that has been a guide on talents for the Retribution tree. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. If I get enough views on this, I will be making one on the Holy Tree and the Protection Tree, things like that, and maybe even a PvP rotation and other things guide. So, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys.